Hi everybody. It's me, the Dreamer. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Hanging with the Dreamer. I am your host. First up, before I bring on my awesome guest, I have the illustrious Mr. Jonathan Mancuda. And I am very thankful and very happy that he's here. And before I bring Jonathan on, I just want to make a quick announcement that December 16th at uh, December 16th, Cutter Savage will be making his triumphant return back to the show. And it's going to be cool. Just a brief update on that. I will be going over his 4-song EP. So I'm looking at playing live tracks and everything. I'm looking forward to this. But today we have Mr. Jonathan Mancuda. Hey, Jonathan.
How are you, brother?
How are you?
All right, man. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. I am fantastic. No complaints.
I have a little bit of a lighting issue today, so forgive me, but let's see. Maybe that is that a little better? Can you see me?
That's great.
Like
That's good.
half in the dark here.
No,
I'll try to sit
okay.
there. There we go. Maybe that's better.
That's okay. Yeah, I know what you mean about lighting. I've got a big old floodlight back here over my left shoulder and over my right shoulder. I just have the lighting of my name over there against the wall.
You know what it is? I usually have my shooting area lit up for night shoots because I do a lot of broadcasting at nights. So it messes with what's beaming through my windows during the day and how the light affects the walls during the daylight very differently than it does at night. So but hey, I'm here and you could kind of half see me in the dark, but let's see. There we go. I'm much handsomer in the dark. Ask any girl. I'm serious. I'm much handsomer in the dark anyway.
I'm beating you both.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, I wanted to ask you. Well, the subject of today, as I was sharing with you, is that I just wanted to talk about like having the importance of having an open mind when it comes to creativity, because I think that sometimes I think people maybe understand, some might not. I don't know. Yeah, I can't say for sure, but I do know that having an open mind, it's like you gotta have an open mind because creativity is limitless. It's boundless.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the thing about, when you say have an open mind relating to creativity, I mean, that really is the element of creativity, is just kind of, being creative, thinking outside the box, coming up with things that, other people didn't think of. And I do a lot of twisted comedy and a lot of dirty comedy and a lot of, oh my God, I can't believe he said that comedy. And part of that is the way I see the world is with a really twisted sense of humor. So you have to really, keep an open mind that kind of anything goes, and you want to come up with what everyone else hasn't come up with, so you'll see things like, you'll be at a funeral and everyone's crying and, suddenly you'll be thinking like, I wonder what would happen if I just went up to the casket and tit fucked grandma's corpse. I mean, listen, I guarantee no one else in the room is thinking that right now, and don't do it. Make no mistake. Don't really do it. But, to come up with something, you're thinking outside of the box and you're keeping an open mind, with the intent, obviously, of humor, or hopefully. But you're really keeping an open mind that what can I come up with creatively that's totally different from what anyone else is thinking? And,
Mhm.
it's guys like, the greatest innovators of the world, or a lot of the great, as my lights in my mouth, a lot of the greatest innovators in the world, were basically the geeks and nerds of the world. I mean, you look at, Spielberg and Lucas,
Mhm.
and in the tech fields, guys like Bill Gates, these were the kids that, sat at the lunch table with, all the other outcasts, talking about Dungeons and Dragons, while all the jocks were chasing the cheerleaders. And while I fully support the chasing of cheerleaders, um, you know, these were the guys that were, really keeping an open mind of, well, what if I could make a computer this big? And, what if an alien did come here and it wasn't like a big attacking monster? What if it was a little squishy thing that just befriended a kid? And, what if, there was a big shark in the water? I mean, you can't really see out in the ocean, and, it's kind of like a kind of hidden trap that could be
Mhm.
really interesting, and these type of guys came up with, because they kept an open mind to anything is possible.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
came up with our pop culture, and they came up with our technology, and that's really the key to being creative. Is anything is possible. Just don't, put on any boundaries or any shackles on yourself to say to yourself, well, no, that can't be possible, because what if it is? I guarantee, like 100 years ago,
Mhm.
when, they were doing, horse-drawn carriages, and, Henry Ford came up with, this car, and they're like, what's that? Someone thought it was possible. Someone thought we could travel around without horses. And then, the Wright brothers, someone eventually thought, oh my God, what if we could actually fly? No, we can't fly. Birds fly, and that's again an open mind of anything is possible. We look at, guys like Gene Roddenberry creating Star Trek. And again,
Mhm.
I'm using a lot of pop culture references because I'm a very big geek. I mean, look, I'm wearing an X-Men shirt right now, So, you know, a lot of creativity comes from the idea that anything's possible. Guys like Gene Roddenberry said, "Hey, we could be in a ship in the stars, exploring the galaxies, and we have
Yeah.
transporters and, things like laser weapons and little communicators." And people are like, well, that's not possible. And yet here we are entering an age where SpaceX is going to eventually offer tourists a chance to circle Mars. And we already use technology of, communicators in our cell phones. We have stuff like that. And, laser weapons, okay, there's different degrees of stuff like that. But it's all possible. Anything is possible.
Mhm.
You say transporters, well, that's crazy. Taking apart your atoms and transporting it. And if you saw the Fly movie, you might not necessarily want to screw around with that. But, is it possible? I don't know. I'm not an inventor like that, but I believe that any technology can come up with stuff that we only think of in sci-fi movies or dreaming right now, or things like that. So, there's the power of keeping an open mind when you're being creative. Anything goes, be that storytelling or inventing or, things to that effect.
I'll tell you, that's it. The I couldn't have said it better myself, and I thank you for that. I I I kind of see creativity is like when I'm sitting on the computer and I'm trying to come up with a new show intro, or I'm trying to come up with something, you know, or that has to do with what I'm doing here in the house. And it I find that creativity just comes out somewhere, that when you're open to it and when your mind is open to it, it comes. It just comes, and thoughts become like a manifestation, and you're just sitting here just going, "Wow, I just did that."
Well, I usually think of it, keeping an open mind. A girl will say to me, "Well, I don't want to put a cock in my mouth." I'm like, "But it might taste like chocolate," and she's like, "What, chocolate? Well, that's impossible. You never know. You never try it. You never. Do you like chocolate? Well, I guess I do. Try. You never keep an open mind. And of course it may not." But I don't care. So you see, once it's in her mouth, because she doesn't know I put crazy glue on the edge. So it's in there. It's in there good. We'll have to take you to the hospital to get it out. But again, that's keeping an open mind. I can't date a girl without an open mind. And if you're gonna walk around with someone 6'4" wearing pink, you probably better be a girl with an open mind.
Pardon me.
Sure.
What's it like in Hollywood right now?
It sucks. Everything's shut down. I mean, look, we're in a worldwide pandemic right now. Right. And that's not just Hollywood, that's everywhere. I mean, some places are, taking more authority to protect us than others. And I mean, here's the thing, and I always say this, this is not a political situation. I know some people have made the pandemic out to be political. It's not. We're in a health crisis, and it's not just America. It's worldwide. So it's not about an election or who says what about masks or whatever. Fact is, wear the mask, wash your hands, social distance, and let's get through this, because the fact is, it's everyone. All of us are in this together. It's not a, a Republican or Democrat thing. It's not a, religious thing. It's all of humanity right now is going through a pandemic. Thousands and thousands of people are dying. We've got to be safe. So, we've got to eat the shit sandwich right now. It's not fun. But it's not meant to infringe on our rights to say you can't enter a store without a mask, and you got to wear a mask, and you got to social distance, and you can't go to a restaurant and eat or whatever. It's not trying to infringe on our freedoms or anything. It's basically, look, there's a virus. There's a virus. We're at war with a freaking virus, and the idea that right now everything is shut down, restaurants are shut down, and and businesses are shut down, and you can only get takeout and only at certain hours. It's protecting us. It's not trying to give us a pain in the neck. It's like, yes, you got to wear a helmet when you're riding a cycle. Yes, you got to wear a seatbelt when you're in a car. Yes, you got to wear pants when you walk in a store. It's not meant to restrict us and control us and whatever. It's a temporary thing we've all got to suffer with right now in order to get to the other side of the tunnel. Right. That's it. I'm not happy putting on a mask every day. I mean, God forbid I meet a girl in the takeout line at a store, at a restaurant, and I'm looking and she's got pretty eyes, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should get this girl's phone number. And then I'm looking, and then she takes the mask off when we get home, and she's got like two teeth looking like Count Chocula. She's got a mustache as thick as Mussolini, and she's got it waxed like Raleigh fingers. Who knew that was under that fucking mask? This is a golden age of ugly people. If you're a guy or girl who's got a half face that's just bestial, like really hideous, this is your age. This is your chance to meet someone and hook up, and this is your opportunity. Because once we get these masks off, they're gonna say, listen, people don't realize I'm ugly. I mean, I put on a mask. I'm a sexy superhero. I'm like, hey, look at me. And then I get it home and girls like, I gotta go. What? Where you going? My dick tastes like chocolate. I mean, this is just a time, in Hollywood and in a lot of other places, there's restrictions. So how's Hollywood right now? It's pretty much closed down unless you got to get some food, and then you go home and, watch a lot of Netflix,
Yeah.
Play guitar, read comic books, masturbate violently, and eat a lot of comfort food, which, I'm 20 pounds up thanks to this quarantine. I mean, I've been huffing comfort food like it's going out of season. I mean, ice cream and fried chicken and wings, and I ordered a corned beef and pastrami sandwich the other day. This freaking thick. It was like, I'm gonna have a heart attack before this virus kills me.
Nah, that won't happen. You're too valued. You're too valued.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm very valuable. Oh God, yeah.
Oh yeah, you are. So
yeah,
on that you're
worth my weight in fertilizer.
Well, let's say hi, hey, Big Gary, man.
Gary, Big G.
How you doing?
My buddy Gary Thollander.
Alex Radford.
Alex, how are you, man?
Crazy people. What's going on, Alex?
I was on both their shows recently. I was on Alex's podcast, and I was on Gary and Sarah Picorni's Communication Breakdown.
Oh, cool.
and Fruitcake Tony's Show Me Your Pick recently.
Well, thanks for listening, Alex. Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, no, clearly there's nothing else on the air right now. So they're like, I'm listening to this at work. It's either this or an infomercial about a ball shaver. So I'll listen to Mancuda ramble on about bullshit for a while.
So did you happen to catch my newest intro?
I saw the one where it was counting down with explosions, and I felt like I was in a Michael Bay movie, like looking for Optimus. We gotta go now, something like that.
Well, yeah. That's a good example of this whole thing just came out of nowhere, and I'm not. This is a good example of what we're talking about. Having an open mind, creativity. And the way you put it is, I'm gonna play a video real quick, if that's all right with you.
It's your show. It's fine by me. Hey, I got no say in any of this. If I had a vote, I'd ask for some better lighting and a craft services table.
Well, this one, I'm doing this video. I'm getting ready because I have some marketing and media plans for 2021. And
as long as I get my 10%, I'm good.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I
what do you got? Gas? What was that?
That was my mic.
Oh yeah, I say that too. When I'm in the car with a girl, and she's like, "What was that noise?" Oh yeah, the microphone. Microphone. We're in a car. Yeah, I bring them everywhere. You never know when you want to broadcast something.
Yeah. My microphone's right here. So I'm doing this video, and between you and I'm not a graphics designer.
Whoa! Between you and I, we're live, man. We're live. There's thousands of people watching this. We're live. You just announced to the world you're not a graphic designer. You blew it. You blew it, man. You just gave away the secret of secrets.
But the whole thing is that not knowing what I'm doing.
Well, welcome to my world. My whole career, I don't know what I'm doing.
Inspiration, creativity, and open mind presented, crafted, rendered, and created this. There you go.
What the fuck did I even just watch? Holy shit show. It looks like it started off like either a fireman's funeral or the beginning of Braveheart, where I expect Mel Gibson to be next to bagpipe players. They could take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom. You know, and then I expected like Uncle O'Grimacy to come marching out for Shamrock Shakes and a flow of redheaded women, you know, just lifting their tops, you know, in an Irish parade. And then all of a sudden there's flames that said, "Welcome to my dream." And then I expected to see you like in a hot tub surrounded by these redheaded women, all massaging your shoulders and feeding you grapes and, you know, "Welcome to my dream." And then all of a sudden there's a fucking nuke and it blows it all up. What the fuck was that? Holy shit.
The creativity.
Well, there's no limits there, I gotta admit. Wow. Even Michael Bay was just watching that and going, huh. Yeah. No, it's wow.
Cool.
Dude, you could do that and that's just the show and that's it. You don't need me, man. You just play that info on a loop for an hour and there's your show. Someone like my father will just kick back in his lazy boy and just be watching and be like, explosions, loud music, nukes. Yep, this is a good adventure movie. What is this, Die Hard 5? This is good. Yeah. You don't need me, man.
Are you kidding me? I always need you, man. What are you talking about?
I wish you had breasts and a vag. So I want someone to need me. Even my parents are like, how can we get rid of him? I don't know.
Wow, you're an icon, man. You're a comedic icon.
I'm the prize of the garbage dumpster. I'm the bottom of the D list. Even Kathy Griffin looks down on me and she's like, "Mancuda, man, you really got to do something better." Yeah.
Well, thanks for letting me share that with you, man.
No, geez, I feel I think I soiled myself. Are you kidding? Wow.
So I don't see how I can change that. I think
I didn't even see how you came up with it. But hey, think outside the box, baby. It's like if Las Vegas turned all their towers into dildos and covered it in green jelly and lit it on fire with acid. I mean, you know, it's something.
Let's see what the chat has to say. Big Gary. Great to see you, Blokes. Well, good to see you too, man.
You too, brother. Shout out to my man.
Hey, Mark Lario, what's going on, man?
Hey, bro.
Doing? Welcome to the show.
How are you, Mark?
Mark's a good dude, man. Before the pandemic hit and everything, there's a local hangout. About 10 minutes from me in Glendora called Route 66 Clubhouse.
Oh, cool. Was it like a bar kind of?
Yeah, bar, cool. Restaurant, bands, cool. Live bands, and me and Mark Mick there, and we had mutual friends in the band and stuff. And he's a good dude, man.
Cool.
He's good people. It's hard to find good people nowadays. So
don't look at me, man. I don't qualify. Don't look at me.
So how did you get started in comedy?
You know, it's not even, you know, I mean, how can I put this? Like, I guess as a kid, I was always the class clown. You know, I was always that one that, like, I just loved making people laugh. I mean, I came, you know, I grew up in Long Island, New York, and you born and bred New Yorker, no accent, right? And I guess I was always the class clown. I liked making people laugh. Sometimes I don't know where a sense of humor comes from. It just sometimes you're either funny or you're not funny. Maybe it's a defense mechanism, or it's just you just enjoy the attention or whatever it is. And as a kid, I did like comedy skits in the school talent shows, and I used to love them. Like commercial parodies. I did one for a dandruff shampoo, and I did one for Hostess Twinkies, and it was just the ability to get on a stage and make an audience laugh that I loved. And it was even more simple because I just liked making classmates laugh. I just enjoyed, bringing a little bit of laughter and happiness to friends and whatnot. As a teenager, I got into stand-up comedy, and I wasn't really crazy about that because it was just like me standing on a stage and just like, telling a string of jokes, and it's fun getting that audience reaction, but there's something about it that I wasn't crazy about, the non-spontaneity of it, because you're doing a routine, you're doing something that you've practiced so much that, there's more fun when it's spontaneous, when it's improvisational, when it's just on the fly, talking like we're talking here. Come up with something funny. It's, I'm amused too. When I'm on the stage telling a string of jokes like that, I just didn't enjoy it as much. So I kind of got out of it. And then I was starting to get into like law. Like I think I wanted to be a lawyer or a businessman or something like that. And a friend said to me, hey, didn't you do like acting school or something? And I did. For a number of years. And he said, well, we're, hey, Janice. And I said, yeah, I did. He says, well, he's looking for a tall guy to be in this low budget horror movie he's shooting. Would you have any interest? Because, you're really tall and, you have that little experience. I was like, well, yeah, I'd be interested. So I read for the part, and it's, again, not like a zero budget horror movie called Depraved. And I read for it. He liked me in it. And then once I got on the set and saw the filming aspect of it and the acting aspect of it and, trading lines with partners and being a character, then I was kind of like, wow, this is really, really cool. So I kind of got the bug right then and there. Like, I think this is what I want to do for a living. And what I didn't realize was, as an actor, you really don't make a living. You really don't, unless you're like, George Clooney or Tom Cruise or someone who makes, a real, always working living. You kind of have to supplement it with day jobs, and then you get a gig for a year, and then suddenly a show ends, and then you're back out, looking for work. And it's kind of, you have to really do it because you love it. And I didn't always get comedy parts, but like I got some dramatic stuff and some horror and stuff like that. But I enjoyed playing characters. And then, doing things like podcasts or comedic roles. That's like my favorite thing, because I really like making people laugh, and that's pretty much the gist of it. I mean, that's how I kind of got into it, podcasting and broadcasting on YouTube. I was invited as a guest on Johnny Bean TV on the Talking Guitars series of shows, because I have a big guitar collection, and that's a passion of mine. I as a hobby, and as a guest, I'm telling jokes just because that's what I do. That's who I am. And the audience really took to it, so they said, hey, if you want to come on for a part 2, why don't you come on for a part 2? And I did. And then eventually it's like, if you want to do this more than normal, and eventually that evolved into the YouTube show, Talking Guitars and 80s Metal Live, which, basically now is, of course, Johnny Bean hosting the show and producing it, while the main talkers are myself and Neander Paul, who is a morning radio host in Arizona. And, the two of us basically grew up very similar in liking that improvisational, goofy humor and doing cartoon voices. And, both of us have done voiceover work for TV and stuff. And that's basically where it is now. I just, I enjoy doing, again, I've done, TV roles and film roles. Those that don't know me, I've been on Lost, Hollywood Treasure, on Sci-Fi, Veep, and a bunch of other stuff. I was on SNL as a featured extra for 6 years, so that got my feet wet into live TV for a number of years, and things like that. And right now, this is what I do every week on Tuesday nights on YouTube, talking guitars and 80s metal live. And me and Neanderthal just kind of rip into humor. And we do it talking about, 80s metal music and guitars and pop culture. And we just get on these rants. I mean, we were singing songs as Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy the other day. We like making Star Wars jokes and imitating members of Kiss. And it's just, that's the type of humor that both myself and Paul get into, is that improvisational, just let's make a bunch of people happy for a couple hours. And you kind of need that because we're in a really dark time. So, the idea that, we can brighten people's day for a couple of hours, after, going through pandemic bullshit and political bullshit and all the other things that ails the world right now at once, is an honor. The idea that we can make people happy is a real honor and a labor of love. And that's a blessing. It's a real blessing. So there you go.
Well, I don't know if you had a chance to talk to Johnny or not, but actually I know Johnny, and Johnny's been on my show a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
And I always want Johnny on my show. Johnny's a great guy.
Well, let's call him up now, and he can take my spot, and I'll go get something to eat.
You haven't eaten yet today?
No, it doesn't. I'm always eating. I'm a walking stomach. Please.
You're a walking stomach.
Yeah, I eat a lot. I'm a fat fuck. I mean, I just eat a lot.
Well, Johnny's a good guy. And
oh yeah. Hey, I'm on with him every week, so we're friends.
Johnny's a good guy, and it's because of Johnny I was watching him, and then that's how I found you. And
Jew. Well, I mean, I am Jewish, but you don't have to call it out like that. And that's how I found Jew. We needed a token Jew, so we said, "Hey, Jaime, come here."
So I'm glad that I saw you and I found you through Johnny, on Johnny's show.
Well, I appreciate you asking me on. It's a very honor. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you.
Well, I'm honored to have you. I hate to see the situation that this whole entire world's in right now. It snuffs the human spirit, it crushes the human spirit. And
it's rough. It's a dark time, right? It's a dark time in humanity right now. But
bad,
we've got to realize that we will get through this. We're all in this together. We've got to kind of stop some of the division that's going on right now. And it's one of those things where you just have to realize, this isn't going to be forever. It's dark. It sucks. I mean, I have a father in the hospital right now. I can't be with my mother during the pandemic. I'm out of work right now, other than doing online broadcasting. And, a lot of people are unemployed right now on food lines. Yeah. Not just homeless people, which are increasing, but your neighbors, and and a lot of your friends are risking losing their homes because of unable to pay rent, unable to pay mortgage. There's so much. I could go on and on. There's so much dark in the world right now, but this is why. Look, eat some comfort food, watch some funny shows, and you can still be with family, even if it's just calling them or being on Zoom or whatever, and turn to each other and rely on each other to bring each other up and support each other and realize, hey, we're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. This is a dark time. We've been through dark times before, but we're going to, we're going to get through this. There's lights at the end of the tunnel on every problem. The economy will eventually come back. Job opportunities will eventually come back. This virus will eventually, if we cooperate, this virus will eventually go away. I mean, look, there's vaccines on the way, but you got to convince people to take them. There's masks available to lower the spread. You got to wear them. Wash your hands. I mean, this is stuff we've all got to come together, even though we have our differences, our political differences, our racial differences, our, whatever your differences are. We're all humans. And in this country, speaking for myself, because I know there's international viewers, we're all Americans. We're all Americans. And we're all human and we're all neighbors. And if we just show a little bit of kumbaya in helping each other get through this, and a little cooperation, that's the power of humanity. We have overcome so many things. And if we just put our heads together, we've reached for the stars and we've gotten to the moon and we'll do amazing things in the future. But right now, all our problems are at home. We've got to cooperate. We've got to all get on the same page, put aside any ideological differences we have. And again, we'll all get through this. Just stay positive and say, you know what? This too will pass. And it will. It will. It may take a little time. It may take a little struggle, may take sacrifice, may take eating a little shit sandwich we don't want to eat. May take wearing a mask you don't want to wear, may take staying home when you don't want to stay home, may take some struggling, some financial sacrifice. But you know what? Be nice to each other. Keep in touch with your relatives, especially your elderly relatives that are alone right now, especially during the holidays. We can still talk on Zoom. Okay, you shouldn't be having a big Christmas get-together because, just like Thanksgiving, you shouldn't be going to Thanksgiving and bringing grandma who's, gonna maybe catch a virus on the way and won't be alive for Christmas. Same thing. Spend Christmas separated, but in communication. Spend it on the phone and on Zoom and, tell grandma you love her and, but don't endanger grandma. I would give anything right now to give my mother the biggest kiss in the world. No tongue. But I can't. I just can't right now. My dad's in the hospital right now. I want to be there for him. I can't. I don't want to endanger them. I don't want to, I don't want to unknowingly, without symptoms or asymptomatic or anything like that, accidentally bring home a virus. And it can happen anywhere. So again, this is a time, especially during the holidays. It's a Christmas unlike any other. It's a Hanukkah unlike any other. It's a, Festivus for the rest of us. It's a holiday season unlike any other because, last night I was watching the Rockefeller tree lighting on TV. And that because they blocked off New York City, they didn't want crowds to gather. And normally, me being a native New Yorker, I would fly back home and watch that lighting live. And I would go see the Rockettes at Radio City. But last night, all shows are canceled. They did a show on TV, and that's what you saw. This is not your normal holiday. It sucks, but you know what? Just work with it. Adapt. That's what humans do. We adapt, just, make sure your neighbors are okay and support one another. And that's, again, it's an optimistic outlook, but that's what we need right now. We need to come together. We need to basically, treasure our friends and our family and protect them by not getting together with them this year. Call them, Zoom them, and just realize that, help is on the way. We're going to get through this together with cooperation that we have to do. We just have to. That's it.
I saw no argument here. That's perfectly right. I saw
Did you see Bang Energy Drink's new Mango Bango
No, I
flavor?
didn't.
You should check that out.
Oh, cool.
Big sponsor of things I do. Bang Energy Drink.
There you go.
Really appreciate them. So
Yeah. That's congratulations on that.
yeah. Yeah, they sponsor Talking Guitars and 80s Metal Live. So we're happy about that.
Awesome. What do you think is the future of um mm, what do you think is the future of
The future is I'm gonna be lonely and destitute because no girls want me. That's what I'm destined for. Probably homeless in a dumpster because I rely on my comedic ability to pay my way. So that's probably where I'm gonna be. That's the future. I'm gonna be alone, destitute, and homeless in a dumpster.
I don't buy that.
Well, then you better start sending me a paycheck because. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, that's all right.
Jumping the gun there.
No worries.
The future of what?
The future of the entertainment industry as far as Hollywood's aspect of that goes.
You know, it's interesting. The pandemic has changed a lot. You know, of course, through society, it's changed a lot. You know, but here's the thing. Well, I'm glad you asked me, Janice. Bang caffeine. Let's see. It says a whole lot. That's what it says on the label. A whole lot.
A whole lot.
No, I don't know. It doesn't say. It doesn't say on here. I know it has caffeine. Here's the thing about Bang. It's mostly like creatine and aminos and CoQ10 and you know that's really what gives it its big thing. It's not like a high sugar drink that gives you those spiked blood sugars and those crashes. You know that's the good thing about Bang. It's mostly super creatine, caffeine, CoQ10, and essential aminos. But I don't know the exact amount of caffeine that it gives you. I mean, let's put it this way. I feel like $1 million without heart palpitations. So if that helps, and they're tasty, they taste really good. They have a lot of good flavors. You know, this one I showed on the show the other day is Purple Kittles. This is one made for the military.
Hey, I
like I like that they support the military because I very much do. I'm very, very proud of our military and our veterans, and but anyway, getting back to the soldiers, I'm sorry, the soldiers. Getting back to Hollywood, no, I think you know the pandemic has basically showed us that you know streaming movies at home can be a pretty good thing, you know, and a lot of more pay movie stations and pay streaming stations have started to pop up just everywhere. I mean, just, you know, Peacock for NBC and CBS All Access and you know, Netflix obviously is the golden child right now. But, you know, other things like that have really trained us now to stay at home rather than go per se to a movie theater. And I think that's going to be a bit more of a trend, is that you're going to see, again, just my guess, you're going to see more movies streaming onto TV than you're going to see released in the theater. And that's not to say eventually we won't get back to seeing movies in the theater, because, you know, it is a great experience. But a lot of people have been trained to, hey, this is kind of cool, you know, streaming a movie at home. It's kind of fun. It's kind of more convenient. I don't have to go anywhere. I could lay in my underwear and, you know, throw popcorn at my toes. And, you know, it's kind of fun. So I think that's going to be a big part. Also, I noticed for safety reasons now, which hurts me, on sets, they want less people. They want less people in the crew. They want less extras. They want less smaller roles, which is a lot of what I do. You know, just for safety reasons. Now, again, I don't know how long that'll go on, but the idea that, you know, extras, maybe a crowd of CGs rather than a crowd of humans, that hurts, people's bottom lines. And, small roles, if I'm the minor character coming in and suddenly they've written those type of characters out, that affects my bottom line. More time for leads and less time for minor characters, that's a big factor. So, with that said, they will probably be increasing the amount of content they need, because you have all these new streaming services and more people at home and working from home, I should point out, watching TV. And that's going to be a big factor. So you'll notice more shows getting made, more movies getting made as far as that goes. And, I also notice, obviously, that YouTube has become a factor in that, because a lot of people are watching a lot of YouTube content, which, while not necessarily a full, sitcom or something, shows like, that I do with Johnny on his channel, Saturday Night Live and Talking Guitars, and then my show Talking Guitars and 80s Metal Live, it does take up time of people. People enjoy watching content regardless if it's on their TV, their computer, their phone. A lot of people are watching stuff on their phone now, which is, very YouTube friendly. And then you have, things like, TikTok, and there's a lot of things taking up people's time now in visual entertainment. And, I think that is going to affect changes in Hollywood that have already, taken place during the pandemic. I think some of them are going to, go more that way towards streaming things that in the past they would not have, and a lot of movie stars are getting into TV series now.
Yeah.
Which it used to be the opposite. You used to want to get out of TV and into the movies because the pay is different and you won't get typecast as much and, whatnot. But now it's like with less movies, now a lot of them are saying, a gig on Amazon or Netflix or something like that, that's a pretty rock solid gig and, consistent work. So that's the changes I've noticed,
Have you ever been to the side of the Jimmy Kimmel show?
Yeah, I actually was at in Jimmy's audience one time. I had some friends visiting from Florida, and they got tickets to Jimmy Kimmel, and they're like, "Have you ever been?" I'm like, "No, I love Jimmy, but I've never been to his audience." And I'm a big fan of Jimmy Kimmel. I love his humor, and I think he's terrific. And but yeah, I mean, it's not far from me. I mean, I'm in the heart of Hollywood.
Yeah.
So,
well, were you there when Van Halen played?
Yes, but I wasn't there during the actual show. Like I live here, so I wasn't in the audience when they did that live show in the street, but I've seen other shows that were live in the street. I forget who it was that I saw, but and again, I've seen the live show just walking by that theater. If you walk in the back lot, you'll just hear music and you'll look over the fence. You'll be like, oh, there's the Foo Fighters playing or whatever. But I would have loved to have seen Van Halen like live in the street like that. But I did see Van Halen in 2015. I did see that last tour row. So that was great. Of course, that brings us to rest in peace, Eddie. But
without a doubt, I know that with there's already changes. I've already seen changes going on with myself in the way I look at things. And when Eddie died, rest in peace, I was scratching my head because number one, my mom, who, by the way, who lives here in the house with me, my 85-year-old mom,
Is she single? Because I'm really horny, man. I mean, this isolation is killing me, right? I got out of an 8-year relationship in March, and I'm fiending. I'm not as selective as I was before the pandemic. I mean,
but
we'll talk about it off the air. We'll do it.
She used to work with Dr. Roth, Dr. Nathan Roth, at
Mhm.
the she worked at the San Gabriel Valley Medical Center in San Gabriel, California, and Dr. Nathan Roth was one of the resident doctors there, and she saw him quite a bit. And I remember when I went and visited her one time, went and visited her at work, she took me up to this whole floor that had just been completed. Took me down the hallway and said, "Read that plaque." I read it, and this entire wing was donated by David Lee Roth, Michael Anthony, Edward Van Halen, Alex Van Halen.
Oh, cool.
And I was just, it made sense. It made sense to me. And because of all the time in Pasadena that I spent growing up, well, Pasadena and Hollywood, mostly Sunset.
Mm-hmm.
I I I just doubt that was pretty personal.
Oh, for sure.
That was pretty personal to me.
I mean, if you grew up in Los Angeles, Eddie's your hometown hero. And
Yeah,
if you grew up anywhere else, Eddie's your guitar hero. I mean, we all felt like we knew him. And he was noted as one of the nicest guys in the industry, as well as obviously being, the master of the instrument, the innovator, the greatest guitarist that ever lived.
absolutely.
I mean, I remember when he passed away, it was a Tuesday, and we were going to go on in a few hours with the normal episode of Talking Guitars and 80s Metal Live. And Johnny and I just happened to be texting or something at the time, and he was like, "Oh my God, Eddie Van Halen just died." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, we got to go live right now. We got to go live right now. And Paul was there, and we're all in this conversation online, and
I remember that.
Johnny and Eddie, Johnny and Paul went live right then and there. And I said, "I'll be there in a few minutes." And I literally, I needed about 20 minutes to get a good cry out, because I was so in shock and devastated. And if you watch, we did an 8.5-hour live tribute that day, pretty much to invite people into the chat and say, "Hey, have some conversation with us. Let's reminisce about our love of Eddie Van Halen. He just died." We're all in shock. We're all, thousands and thousands of people are consoling each other on that show. I think we had literally 24,000 people live at that time. And we were all just, you could see I'm clearly shaken when I come on the air 20 minutes late into that broadcast.
I saw part of it.
And I just cried as hard as I could. And I said, "Okay, I'm going to go back to professional mode, and I'm going to be there for other people." And it was just a lot of reminiscing and reflection and talking with people. And just, if you read the chat, it's, of course, it's flying a mile a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And the chat is just like, "Thank you for giving me a place to grieve with other like-minded people," because in a normal situation, we'd all go up to the Sunset Strip and probably hit the bars and hit there and do toast. Yeah, hit the Rainbow and hit the Roxy and hit, all the bars and the restaurants, and just do, toast after toast to Eddie and cry together and reflect. And we'd all need to be somewhere with other people that knew and loved Eddie Van Halen. And that's not hard to find. But in a pandemic where you can't do it,
that's right.
Johnny's show provided an outlet that everyone could gather together and just basically have a good cry together. When we were on for 8.5 hours, and it was hard. It was really hard. And I mean, there are days still that I'm just depressed about it. And again, this is not my family. This is not someone I never even once met Edward in my lifetime. And I knew his music. I saw him live in concert, but I never met him. We had a mutual friend or two, or, a few mutual friends, I guess. But I have, a guitar that was signed and drawn on by him, and another guitar that was signed by him. But I never met the man. And yet here I was, literally outwardly crying about it, because that's the impact that, that Eddie had on us. Hey, Edwin. That's a good point. There is a couple of places that are rethinking about possibly doing drive-in movies again. It's safe, but it's not very financially, profitable, comparative to a regular movie theater. But who knows where we're going to wind up at the end of this pandemic. Certainly society is going to change. There's going to be a lot of adaptions. I mean, I don't know how long it'll be before we ever see something like another NAMM convention or Comic-Con where you have, 250,000 people packed into a giant convention center, breathing each other as if you're making out. It's really, really going to be different in society. I mean, there may be a couple of years before we, refigure this out. I know, like, I used to go to Chinese buffets all the time. Buffet food, no longer, man. I mean, they may do it cafeteria style, where they'll have glass in front of you and you point to the lady and say, "Can I please have some of this?" And she'll scoop you out some, but no more everyone's serving themselves. Those days are gone. There's a lot of things that are going to be fallout from this pandemic. Yeah. And live music, it's going to be a little while before we see it safely again. So I know there are some guys and bands that are like tentative to have like a 2021 concert in the fall. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't. I don't know. It all depends how much we cooperate together and get on the same page with, the masks and the social distancing and, washing your hands and not visiting grandma. As fast as we do that is as fast as we could figure out what's next for society and what we can and can't do anymore, But right now, live music, I'm afraid, is off the table, of course. And drive-ins, you'll see a couple here and there. I don't believe it'll be the wave of the future again. I think home streaming is going to be more the wave of where we're going.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, look at it this way. A lot of businesses, let's say you're an office business and you had an office building full of cubicles and you're paying a huge overhead and getting all your work done. Now the pandemic hits, everyone's got to go home. Everyone's home. And you've,
hey,
JJ's House of Jams. Let's say now you're all working from home. Now you're the owner of this company and saying, we're still getting our work done with these people working at home.
Yeah.
Why do I need to bring them back to that giant office building that I'm shelling out $1 million a year in rent for?
Right.
Why would I do that? So I see a lot of work from home opportunities as well. And I see a lot of commercial real estate, like office buildings and stuff, having a very hard time coming back. Same with retail. Unfortunately, a lot of fallout from this pandemic is, the mom and pop restaurants and the smaller boutique stores and stuff like that. And it's one of those situations. It's one of those situations. What do you got? A little tickle in your throat?
Little tickle, yeah.
Testicle?
Little tickle.
The testicle. No, but
That's why I'm
you
just drinking water.
there you go. Get those babies down, those Rocky Mountain oysters. No, but I'm just seeing a lot of big department stores going out of business. They were already struggling before the pandemic to compete with business like Amazon and all the online stores. Now your brick and mortars like Macy's are I mean, I see a lot of them going out. I see a lot of small boutiques going out. I see a lot of restaurants having a hard time surviving this crisis. We're going to see a lot of that kind of fallout, from this pandemic. And like I said, the longer we fight things like masks, the longer we're going to go through this. Even with the vaccine, you got to get people to take it. And if they're like, all right, vaccine's ready, and they're like, whoa, I don't want my rights infringed because I don't want to take a vaccine that I don't trust. And okay, now we're facing a new problem. The cure is there, and not enough of society wants to take it. We're not going to get through this again. We're going to have another year and another year of people dying and no live music and no crowds returning and no ability to get back to going to a restaurant or normalcy. We've gotta meet in the middle, everybody. We gotta, figure this out.
So you're absolutely. So you were saying earlier that you have a large guitar collection.
I'm sorry, I have a large what?
Yeah, guitar.
No, I do not. Oh, guitar. I thought you said.
Yeah.
I thought you said you have a large heart erection.
No,
no. I wish I did. I wish I did. Believe me, I wish I did. I have a very large guitar collection. I have a lot. I have a lot.
Do you have
and it's a labor of love. I mean, it's I try to buy basically what I like, what I always loved in the 80s, including certain celebrity guitars that I saw in concert through the 80s.
Yeah.
And guitars that I in the 80s, maybe couldn't afford, but now have that ability. And I play all of them, not all at once, obviously, but you have to rotate them and give them all a little love. Even the expensive ones have to be played. Otherwise, why do you have it? It's a guitar. It's not a fine china. It's a guitar. If I have a guitar that belonged to George Lynch and out of 1,000 shows he used it and beat the shit out of it, he didn't damage it. How am I gonna hurt it in my living room, playing, a part of a song? I mean, it's not gonna happen. Plus they have to be maintained. You have to make sure the wood doesn't dry out if it's rosewood or ebony, and strings sometimes deaden if they're exposed or whatnot. I mean, most of my guitars are kept in cases until I'm ready to play them, but I keep like probably between 3 and 6 out at a time. Right by my couch where I usually am, just lounging, and, they're right there. So this way I could just reach over and grab one and start noodling during a TV commercial or something, or just, sit and practice a little, because I'm not a good player. I have to emphasize that I'm a terrible player, because I started learning in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
I had a very small learning period, and then the music changed, and I didn't want to play anymore because I hated the music scene. So, when grunge fist fucked us, basically, is the way I look at it. Thank you, Nirvana. No, when I got back into realizing that I wanted to go back to learning it, it was like, 2012. So I had missed all the time I should have been, practicing that 20 years or so, or, and all my friends, meanwhile, were up to the part of playing sweeping arpeggios. And I'm sitting there like, okay, I can play part of this Danger Danger song and part of this AC/DC song and the intro to this Dawkins song. And that's where I am, because I missed 20 some odd years of practice that all my other friends, you look at someone like, my buddy Dave Nesdall, or someone like Jay Hannon, or, all these guys were practicing all these years that I didn't even look at a guitar, and again, it's irrelevant because it's a hobby for me. I love the instrument. I love picking it up and noodling and making sounds and playing parts of songs and whatever. So it's not like I'm ever trying to get to the point of being so good I could be on a stage. I never will. But I love being able to play part of songs and intros to songs and, maybe learn a solo here or there, stuff like that. It's fun and it lets me enjoy the instrument, which is, basically the idea of why I collect them.
Well, do you collect pedals as well?
No, I'm not a tone chaser because I'm not good enough to like be someone like George Lynch where it's like, oh, this modded plexi. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm basically more about the guitar and the feel that I enjoy playing. I like the feel of the neck. I like the tone coming out of the pickup. Maybe the wood, or the graphic or whatever is, catching my eye and getting me excited enough to pick it up and learn to play it more. But as far as like amps, I mean, I have probably about 5 amps total. I have a Marshall JCM, silver anniversary, which is basically the JCM 800, with a gray, gray Tolex. My go-to is a little Galen Kruger ML250, which is basically, it's a 50-watt lunchbox. It's a small practice looking amp that like blows things away. And I like that particularly because that's nostalgia for me. I had one back in the day. So that's my tone that I really like, and then, let's see, what do I have? I have a Viper modeling amp and a few other small amps. I also have an orange combo that I got. That's very cool. That I got like 2 years ago. So I like that also. But those are my 3 big ones: are the Marshall, the GK, and the orange. And then, I have, a small solid state Marshall at my parents' house and a Viper at my parents' house for the modeling. And, that's fun too. But, that's the general gist of it.
Well,
and a small mix of pedals, and those are like, old ones from the 80s that I have, or Steve Brown included one that I got, a booster of some sort that came with a guitar I have of his that he used on stage a lot. And I have a couple of Boss pedals, some old school stuff.
Well, if there's ever a time that you like hear a tone in your head and maybe your Marshall's getting close to it, but might not quite match the frequencies that are going on in your head, I highly recommend this pedal right here.
What is it?
The Friedman BEOD Deluxe.
Oh, well, they make some great stuff.
I recommend anything that Friedman makes, but this one in particular is pretty amazing. It's like having two of his BE heads. It's really pretty amazing. A lot of tone in this box. So I just wanted to share that with you.
That's cool. I only bought one pedal in the last few years, and it was a real weird thing. It was my ex-girlfriend and I were in Paris, and we were on a 2-week vacation, and I'm like, hey, there's a row of guitar stores down in one sector of the city. So I went there, and it was very cool. And I tried out a bunch of guitars, and I was like, wow, this amp is getting really good tone, and it's a pretty basic Marshall. And he's like, it's the pedal. And I said, what's the pedal? And he showed me the pedal was a Tube Dreamer, basically a copy of a Tube Screamer, but a high quality modified Tube Screamer called a Tube Dreamer. And I was like, I turned it on and off. I was like, it is the pedal. It is. Oh my God, what a really great tone. And he said it's basically taking off of one of those old Ibanez Tube Screamers. And he brought out some vintage Ibanez Tube Screamers, and he's like, compare them. And I was like, oh my God, I like the tone of the Dreamer a little better. He's like, it's a similar chip, but it's a little tweaked. And I just fell in love with it. And right then and there, I dropped like, I don't remember, like $150 or $180 or whatever it was. I just wanted one, you know? And I didn't even get it off of him because he didn't sell them. But like I went to another store that I knew had a lot of pedals. And I said, do you have one of these? He's like, oh, these are great. And I was like, yeah. Let me try one again. I tried it on his setup. I was like, it's such a good tone. So yeah, if you guys get a chance, look up Tube Dreamer. I really dig it. Excuse me. Pube.
Okay.
Pube. There you
go. No, the
oh, you too.
Yeah.
Same woman.
The also I wanted to tell you about this one too. The TC Electronics Cinder Overdrive.
What's that like?
This right here, when you have, it's basically a clean boost, and you can use the volume, right here, dime out the volume right there. Turn the tone at about 12 o'clock. Keep the drive all the way off, and I find that it's real good for tone stacking.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's really like I've taken this pedal and I'm putting it in front of my Friedman, and this going into this, it's like brings a whole new dimension out of this.
Well, this is great because now it saves you for figuring out what I want for Christmas. Now you know, send me those two pedals. That's what I want for Christmas.
Yeah, that's it.
I like using pedals with the orange particularly because the orange.
Oh, orange is great for that.
But yeah, the orange I picked up, it doesn't have a great dirty tone, which I like on the GK. I love the distortion on the GK, but the orange doesn't seem to get dirty right, for my taste at least. But the clean channel is phenomenal. And I don't usually play clean because I like 80s glam bands. That's more, my kind of tone. But let's see. Yeah, only learn the cool parts of the song, Edward. Don't learn the boring shit.
That's great, Edwin. Right on, man.
Yeah. No, but that's great. No, but you got to realize
BBL.
BBL. You got to realize when you're playing with pedals, if you really want to appreciate them, start with some amp that has a really good clean tone and then add your pedals. And that's what I like about the orange is that's the one I'll use to play with pedals, because it just gives you the full effect of the pedals right out of a fresh sheet of paper, So.
Well, as an avid guitar collector that you are, I just want to also share with you, tuner, never leave home without it.
I use the snark. I like the little snark.
The snark? Where'd you get that at?
They're everywhere. The little clip-on snarks.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about...
I like those.
There you go.
They're like so easy. And they're cheap as hell. No, the clip-on, the round one. The round clip-on one. Probably a different. Holy, don't die on me. Otherwise, I'm taking over the show. I'm gonna retitle it the Wet Dreamer. We'll start the show with explosions of jizz all over bed sheets. It'll be. I'll redo the whole intro. And now I'll start off the show laying on the bed in a fig leaf, like, "Hello, ladies." Yeah.
And
It'll be
then
great.
blow the bed up.
Yeah, the bed will look like at the end of the show. We close the show by running a black light over the bed sheet, and it looks like a leopard print.
And then you hear,
Yeah, an explosion, a big splattering white explosion. And then again, Michael Bay will again watch that and go, ah. Mm. Mm.
Man,
And you'll see the next Transformers movie will be like sex themed. It'll be like, Jizzabots, roll out. Come on, Vibratron. It's like a vibrator that transforms into a robot, and it'll be great. It'll be great. Michael, I'll totally influence Michael Bay in the next movie. Dildo bots, roll out.
Michael Bay. Yeah. Who is your favorite director?
The butt plug-a-thons are coming.
Hey, you got a lot of new material.
Oh, it'll be great. Yeah, no, it'll be a whole line of sex toy Transformers. You'll have a vibrator, a big double-ended dildo, a butt plug, a big spiked dildo, a little. It'll be great. It'll be great. And they'll all be like, transformable. The Transformers storyline, they'll be looking for this new form of energy called Energiz instead of Energon, and they'll fight Decepticons and Autobots, and it'll be great.
So, who is your favorite Hollywood director?
Oh, I mean, I hate to sound like cliche. I mean, I love Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
I love right now what what's his name is doing with Mandalorian. He's got like a team of directors. Jon Favreau. He's got like him and Taika Waititi. I can never pronounce his name, but I love his work. I mean, guys like that doing the Mandalorian right now. And again, Spielberg is just so classic to me. I just love his stuff. I mean, that's the kind of, directors. Obviously, I liked, I don't know. I just like so much. I like so much work out there. I mean, anyone who will cast me is who I work,
Yeah.
That's who I like. That's who I like,
Have you ever gotten into Clive Barker's movies?
The Hellraiser series?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't obsessed with them, but I love the concepts and I think they're fun. I love the idea of the Cenobites coming out of, that Lamar Chan puzzle box. And you're playing with, an artifact that has mystical properties. You're probably, playing with fire. And here's these Cenobites that are like, you summoned us. And it's like, I'm sorry, what? And then they're, ripping you apart and taking your soul and, bringing you to hell. I love the concept. So yeah, I mean, I like them. There's so many good ideas out there, right now. And I mean, that's a franchise that I just really enjoyed, the concept more than some of the movies were good and some were just, but like the concept, I love it.
So were you ever a big Godzilla fan?
Oh God, total. As a kid, one of my favorite toys was the Godzilla Shogun Warrior, which I still have. I loved Godzilla since I was a sperm. Since I was the youngest I can remember. I remember swimming to the egg and going, "Oh boy, I hope they have Godzilla movies there." No, Godzilla, Gamera, all those early Japanese movies. In New York, we had a program back when I was a kid called the 4:30 movie. And what it was is at 4:30 after school, after some cartoons, they had an afternoon movie that was usually, something sci-fi or horror or something cool that I was into. And they would have like these theme weeks. So like one week would be Planet of the Apes week, and every day they'd show one of the 5 Planet of the Apes movies for that whole series. Another would be Monster Week, and they would choose either Godzilla movies or Gamera movies. And if it was Godzilla, it was usually like, maybe the first Godzilla, maybe Godzilla versus Rodan, maybe, Ghidra, the 3-headed monster, Godzilla versus King Kong, and Destroy All Monsters, or something like that. And, wait, no, Destroy All Monsters was Gamera, right? I think Destroy All Monsters was Gamera. But they'd basically choose 5 Godzilla movies that week, and then 2 weeks later they'd have all Gamera movies, and it was Destroy All Monsters, Gamera, and Gamera versus Gygos, and I love those giant Japanese monsters. I loved them, and then as a kid they had a Godzilla cartoon I enjoyed, and I mean I love the franchise. That's one totally in my heart. Even in my living room, I have a giant poster of Ghidra, the 3-headed monster, framed. That has, and I've framed vintage posters throughout my house, and it's a 3-sheet of Ghidra, the 3-headed monster, fighting Godzilla, Rodan, and Mothra in its larva phase. And
Wow.
2 posters over from it, I have a King Kong Escapes, which is King Kong versus that robot Kong, which I thought was awesome. Yeah. So I mean, I love all that stuff. I'm a geek. I'm a total geek. I mean, it's like sci-fi and monsters and comic books. I'm a massive comic book geek. You see behind me there's a Captain America shield that was used in a commercial for Marvel amusement parks, which is owned by Disney. And that's a screen used, studio made shield that I got from director Rob Cohen, who had it hanging in his living room for years, and now it's staying in my bedroom. But I love all that stuff. I'm a geek, cartoons and comics and stuff like that. I love all that stuff. I'm the big kid. I'll always be the big kid. I never had kids. I never wanted kids. I like being the kid. I'm a Toys R Us kid. I'll grow older, but I'll never grow up.
Well, can you give me a brief history on that guitar over your shoulder next to the Captain America shield?
Oh, sure. That one over there. Hello, the magic of TV. That one over there. That's a 1988 BC Rich Gunslinger. It's a pink and black checkerboard graphic, awesome. And it was owned by the guitarist of a small band called Penny Lane in the 80s, and and BC Rich Gunslingers are some of my favorite guitars of the 80s. I really love them. They made them 88, 89 with a lot of colorful graphics and pointy headstocks, and they just play super nice. They're one humbucker guitars, one volume knob. They're maple necks, which I prefer. All business, terrific guitars. And I have a lot of them. I'm a huge collector of BC Rich Gunslingers. But overall, my taste in guitars is basically, towards certain brands, usually BC Rich, Charvel, Kramer, Jackson, and a little bit of ESP, a little bit of Ibanez, a little bit of Robin, a little bit of Rand. But the biggest thing I always tell people is they're like, well, what guitars do you like? I said, well, if it looks like it's shot out of CC DeVille's asshole in 1988 and it's bright and colorful and obnoxious, that's the guitar for me. That's what I like. I like flashy, loud, clearly 80s glam guitars. That's my favorite go-to,
That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I always tell people, buy what you like. I usually buy USA guitars with the exception of ESP and Ibanez, but I'm saying brands like BC Rich, they make, some in America, which was also with Mexico. It's a long story. But they also have, ones that are made in Indonesia, ones that were made in China, ones that were made in Nagoya, Japan. And, they're like, oh, well, John, which one's the right one? I always say, buy what you bond with, buy what you like. I myself, personally, I prefer USA made guitars. That's just what I bond with. That's what, like I said, with the exception of ESP and Ibanez, for the bigger brands like that I like, at least, BC Rich, Charvel, Jackson, and Kramer, I like the USA ones. That doesn't mean that they're, better than others for certain people. You may like the ones made in Japan better, which are, solid, good guitars.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen, someone take $100 BC Rich Platinum Warlock and, sound like Eddie Van Halen, while I'm sitting there with, a $3,000 BC Rich handmade Mockingbird and going, Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. I mean, yeah. No, but what I'm saying. It's, I always say buy what you like, what you bond with, what feels good to you. I mean, look, some people swear by PRS. They're expensive, beautiful, high-end handmade guitars. I don't bond with them. I don't know what it is. I love the look of the quilted maple tops and the pretty colors, but I picked them up time after time, trying to like them, and I just don't bond with the shape, the feel. Same thing with Sir. I know Sir makes great guitars, but I usually don't bond with them. It's just a matter of personal taste and playability for your style, your hands, the feel that you like. So I always tell people, buy what you like. For me, I like, what I mentioned, those 80s glammy guitars, particularly from those brands. I'll still buy a few new things like NAMM guitars. I usually go to NAMM every year and see like one or two custom shop things that Charvel made, someone like Red Dave or Mike Shannon, and I'll look and I'll pick it up. I'll be like, oh my God, I gotta get this. I got whatever dealer gets this display model, I got to contact. And I know most of the dealers, they we're all friends and stuff. So,
well, the reason why I asked you, I know that you went, you were at the NAMM show, that just passed in January.
Yeah.
And without really getting into it, I did have an offer, to go, and life worked out. My mom got sick.
I'm sorry.
I just didn't go. But
no, you always gotta do your priorities. I've been there.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Family first.
So on the subject of NAMM show, absolutely. On the subject of NAMM show, I wanted to ask you, since you were there, what was your favorite exhibit?
Always for me, it always seems consistent is the Charvel Jackson exhibit, because I go there on dealer night. I get a special pass. I go there on dealer night, and I basically see a lot of guitars that a lot of people don't see on the regular days, because they're meant to show off what every brand's custom shops can do, and then they raffle off the ability to buy them to all the dealers. Yeah. Now, being friends with the dealers, meaning I can usually go in and get a badge that represents a certain dealer, like I'll go in and I'll be the representative for this particular brand, this particular dealer. And I'll go in and I'll see all of what the dealers see. And usually Jackson Charvel's custom shop, guys like, again, Mike Shannon and Red Dave and Pat and, and Joe, those guys are so good. They're so good. They're one of the few brands I can say consistently can make a guitar that I still feel has the quality of an 80s guitar, which if you've played an 80s Charvel or Jackson, the San Dimas era, they're super high quality guitars.
Yeah. And
years after that, they just didn't play the same, not the same quality, to me anyway. And what they churn out of the custom shop when they really want to, is outstanding. Outstanding craftsmanship and playability and feel and tone. I love them. So that's my goal. When I go on dealer night Wednesday at NAMM, I go right to the Charvel Jackson event. I go in, and that's where I am. I'm taking photos of everything, and in some cases, I'm picking out one or two that my goal mentally is to buy them and have them for my own. And this last year I wound up with 2 of them. The year before I wound up with 2 of them. The year before I wound up with 1 of them. They're just so good, and they're special. They're unique. There's just something about, because they're trying to show off. They're trying to show off. They say, hey, dealers, look what we can do. Now place some orders. We could come up with whatever you want. Look, play that. You want a good feeling guitar? Play that. And I do, and I just fall in love with some of the stuff. So that's always the display I run to immediately. Other years in the past, I've run to the BC Rich booth because I'm a huge BC Rich fan. They've gone through ownership change after ownership change after ownership change, and the quality has gone like this. You're just kind of down and up and down and up, and depending, I've also liked going to the BC Rich booth, years back. They haven't been in NAMM for the last 2 years, but hopefully down the line they will again. But right now and consistently every year since I started going to NAMM, my number one goal is to see the Charvels and Jacksons. They're outstanding. They're just outstanding. And, Ibanez after that, because they always come up with some really great stuff,
Yeah.
They represent some amazing artists, obviously, Steve Vai and Andy Timmons and Paul Stanley and but NAMM overall, look, it's a social event. It's a chance for me, just like Comic-Con to me, it's a chance for me to hang out with a lot of people from around the world that usually I'll just talk to on Facebook or on the phone or something like that, and get together for like a nice dinner. And, we all hang out. We get a big party table at Mari's Italian restaurant in Anaheim. I'm friends with the owners there, and their food's outstanding. And, we'll have like 20 guys, some from the Johnny Bean show and some manufacturers representatives and some are rock stars and, just a who's who of everybody, just all there for the same reason, just our love of music and the instruments and just camaraderie at the show and talking about just everything. And then you go see shows. A lot of bands, Warrant will play over at this club, and then there's Rat playing over at this club, and then they have the NAMM Jam and the Rhodes Tribute, and just great stuff. And there's Jack Frost, and there's Chris Holmes, and everybody's there. Everybody's there. So you're having a great time. It's a social event. I say the same thing about Comic-Con. It's like, yeah, I could buy stuff online and at stores and whatever, but you don't get to see your friends that often, not as often as you want, Think about this. I'm on the show with Johnny Bean every Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. Every week I'm seeing Johnny. Johnny and I only get to hang out at NAMM, and once after NAMM, he crashed over my house for a little bit. But that's it. We don't get to see each other very often. It's nice to be able to, just go to one of the food trucks and, grab a shawarma with Johnny and just, bullshit. Just, hey, there's Mitch Malloy and, there's Mark Kendall of Great White, and, let's go talk to them and whatever, it's a fun event and everyone's there for all the same reasons,
Well, I'm really hoping 2022 will.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
It all depends if we cooperate, man. If we all get on the same page, we'll get through this faster. Otherwise, my biggest worry is that we're so fighting, or some of society is so fighting the masks thing and the vaccine thing, and that a lot of the rock stars that are getting up there in age, that by the time we all cooperate, we may have lost some more guys. We lost Eddie, but think about this. The guys in AC/DC, the guys in Kiss wants to go on their road, and they're getting up there. They can't do this forever, and same with the guys, Aerosmith and Ozzy's sick. He has Parkinson's. He's on a time limit of how long he could possibly do this for. A lot of guys are. I mean, not to put anyone in their grave, but God forbid, but I'm just saying, I want to see the Kiss End of the Road tour. I do. I really do. But if this goes on a few more years, they're finally just going to say, what, we can't keep doing this. We can only do this so long. Or God forbid someone catches something.
Yeah.
So if you want to see all your favorite, live music, you gotta, like I said, you gotta suck the dick a little bit. You gotta eat the shit sandwich. You gotta make the sacrifice, be uncomfortable for a little bit, gotta cooperate. And we all do. It sucks. I'm not having fun with it. I hate to sound like a broken record, but that's my biggest fear, is that guys are gonna die while we're all infighting, even as fellow countrymen. We're all infighting, and at the end of the day, we're going to be like, oh shit, while we were delaying getting through this, these people died, and that band broke up, and these guys died, and we're screwing ourselves. So speaking of screwing everyone, Bang energy drink. Yeah, I just love doing that.
That's cool. No, I'm glad you do. That's awesome. Well,
the thing about my relation with Bang energy drink, and they kind of hate this, is that I always plug their product at the most inappropriate time. It's like, Ron Jeremy's going to jail for rape, and then there's this senator was accused of going to NAMBLA meetings. Speaking of NAMBLA, Bang energy drink, delicious drink. I always find the most inappropriate times in the show to plug their product, and I don't do that with other products. Like, Swiss Picks is a sponsor of the show, and I swear by them. I love Swiss Picks. So I will bring them up at a normal time. I'll say, hey, look here. Here's Swiss Picks. Look at the grip on these. Try these. You will not go back to regular picks. I'll bring up Vinum Pickups. Vinum Pickups I think are terrific, and Craig Vinum is like a super guy to get pickups from. Custom wound, hand wound stuff. And then Tessie Switch, another sponsor of the show. And, I'll bring up all those products at normal times. But Bang energy drink, I'm looking for the opening, I'm looking for the opening where I'm like suddenly talking about stinky vaginas on the show. And then speaking of stinky vaginas, Bang energy drink, the delicious drink with, and, I'm sure, Bang either, I'm sure Bang is like pulling their hair out that I do that, but it gets attention, so I roll with it. So
Swiss Picks. So how did you discover Swiss Picks, if I may ask?
I was already friends years ago with the guy who created Swiss Picks. So I've always stayed in contact with him. And it was always, you meet at conventions or guitar shows or whatever. And, hey, what are you up to? What are you up to? What are you up to? And one year he just says, I've been making this, these picks, these custom picks, and check this out. And he showed me, and I was like, wow, these are really cool. These are really cool. And as time went on, it was one of those things where I just said, dude, you're just not promoting these right, because it's like, I know you make a great product, but like, you're there at NAMM and you have a booth, and people need to get these in their hands, because once you try one of them, when you physically feel it, it's one thing to see it on a screen or see it on paper. Once you actually feel one of those Swiss Picks, you'll be like, and I have some right here. I'm just going to reach over. Yeah. Grab one. Once you feel one of these things and you feel the raised holes and how it has such a good grip for you to play with them, I'm addicted to them. This is what I use now. Can I use a regular pick? Sure. This is what I choose to use. This is what I choose. These are great. And my big thing is getting them into people's hands. So I say, I walk around NAMM with a big pocket of them. And I say, give me a bunch of Swiss Picks. I'm going to give these out. And I see people playing, and I'm like, hey, because everyone plays guitars at NAMM.
Yeah.
And I say to a lot of people, I'm like, hey, have you ever used one of these? And he's like, what's that? And I said, it's a Swiss Pick. Try it. and you know, I was like, wow, this is, you know, and again, it feels weird at first because it's a different feel of a pick. But once you play a little with it and you get that feel, you're like, wow, this is really a nice feel. It's very solid and it's very controlling. And, you know, I say, hey, keep it. And, you know, if you ever want more, go to SwissPicks.com. And I do that at NAMM, and a lot of people dig them. And, you know, we gave out, you know, prize packs of Swiss Picks as one of the prizes during the Halloween, the Johnny Bean Halloween costume contest.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. Because I want people to try these, you know, and because if you play guitar and you do try them, there's a very good chance you'll dig them. I love them. But that was the deal. I basically saw as he's expanding, I said, you know what, give me some of those to give out, because if it were me, I'd be dropping them down girls' shirts in the stairwell. I mean, I'd be, what's this? It's a Swiss pick, enjoy it. You know, I mean, I'd be like throwing them in the urinals. And what am I peeing on? It's a Swiss pick. Pick it out and wash it off. You'll like it. You know, I mean, I'd be spreading the love of these everywhere, because a lot of brands give out sample picks.
Yeah.
You know, and these are a little more to make. So I get it, but it's like the whole idea of this is getting it in someone's hands. Once you get it in your hands, you'll get it. Oh my God, that's why these are, like, you know, talked about real well. Because a lot of people that do have them swear by them, myself included. But that's how I get involved with Swiss Picks. I'm friends with the owner. I really like the product, and I wanted to see the product succeed because I thought it deserved to succeed. You know, if I thought you know, these were garbage, I wouldn't be, you know, pushing them all over the place. But they're good. They're really good. And, you know, same thing with, like, you know, Tessie Switch. I think Tessie Switch makes the best kill switches out there. I mean, you know, they were like, you know, Total, Eddie Van Halen, you know, those arcade button ones and smaller ones that other guys use. But these are so solid, you know. And I don't play a lot with kill switches. I don't. But I happen to like the product, you know.
Yeah.
I like that. And Vinum Pickups, same thing. I love that Craig Vinum can fine-tune a pickup to not only mimic exactly anyone's pickup, but he can modify it. Like, I love a DiMarzio Super Distortion, but I like him with a little bit less mud. And he makes grab it real quick. Yeah. I mean, he makes me custom pickups, you know, and this is basically, you know, a Mancuda custom request.
Oh, cool.
You know, you see on the back, this is the Mancuda Custom B.
Oh, look at that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and this is obviously, you know, neon pink, you know, with the hollow poles like a DiMarzio Super Distortion.
That's
and it's
awesome.
And that's the beauty.
That's
These are handcrafted, hand wound. And I push people to his website because you can get anything. If you want something like a Duncan JB, you know, he has that. I mean, stuff like that he keeps in stock. You know, this, which is my version of the Duncan JB. This, which is my version of a 59 burst bucker. This, which is, you know, he has like a full line. If you go to Vinum Pickups, you'll see he has like a full line of everything ready to go. But if you want, you know, purple pickups for your Les Paul, he'll make those. If you want, you know, I mean, he does all custom boutique work, all by hand, and it's such good quality, you know, and that's why, again, I won't back up something I don't like, you know, like I do drink Bang energy drink, you know, I drank them, you know, out of the gate when I first saw them because they had like 20 flavors. I was like, wow, these look interesting. And I used to drink Red Bull, and Red Bull, you know, used to give me like heart palpitations that, you know, I'd worry when I drank one. Yeah, I felt energized, but then I was like, holy shit, my heart's like really, you know, making me worried. I don't get that with these, and they taste better, and they have more selection. Plus, there's bigger cans and the whole 9 yards. But no, I wouldn't if I didn't like them, I wouldn't, you know, go behind them, you know. So.
Well, where can our viewers, where can our listeners right now where can everybody go to find Swiss picks?
What is it? I'm not even sure the website. I think it's SwissPicks.com. If I'm wrong though, Google Swiss Picks and just go on. Just it'll lead you to their website, and and Pete Pinchowski is such a nice guy to deal with, and I mean, just try one pack. Spend whatever it is, $6, $8, whatever it is. Get a pack, try it, and good chance you'll dig it. Like I said, the people that got them as prizes from the Halloween contest, that got packs of those as prizes, they so far have returned to me and they say, I really dig these. It's like, that's why I say, it's like, just pulling that, and same thing with Vinum Pickups, go to Vinum Pickups, Google Vinum Pickups, and it'll take you to their website. Same with Tessie Switch, and Bang Energy Drink. They're just in 7-Elevens and gas stations and, supermarkets and everywhere you buy condoms, look for Bang Energy Drink. I'm sure they appreciate that.
So what who would you say, Jonathan, is your favorite band out of the 80s?
Back then or right now?
Back then.
Oh boy. I mean, there are so many. There are so freaking many. I mean, I don't have a single favorite band. I mean, I really, really, really have, I love Poison and XYZ and Danger and Dirty Looks and Queensryche and Dokken and, I'm all over the freaking map with stuff like that. And again, I love all the typical you expect, Bon Jovi and Warrant and Whitesnake and, it's really, really all over the place, and Ozzy and, Metallica and Megadeth. And dude, I could go on and on and on and on. I mean, I live, eat, breathe, sleep, and shit that stuff. So it's like, I would go, both myself and Neanderthal, both love some of the smaller obscure bands like, Spread Eagle and Phantom Blue and, albums that only came out one or two or something like that. But I have a massive, massive, massive collection of CDs and some only cassettes, because like it's very, some only came out in cassettes. It's like, try to find right now CDs of Killer Dwarfs and Hurricane, Hurricane. I paid for a Hurricane CD and a Killer Dwarf CD probably like a few years ago, like I think 100 and 125 to get the original pressings of these CDs of ones I was missing. It was just, I missed one Hurricane. I missed one, early Sabotage. I missed one Dirty Looks. I missed, and it's like, it sucks because like, if you can't find them secondhand, some of these rare pressings are really hard to find on the secondary market, but I always, and Paulie does this too. We always go to like these used music shops and just go looking through the old bins. And, then suddenly there's, for $7, the same CD, that, with a lot of looking, you paid $100 for,
Mm-hmm. What about now? What would you say is your what you find yourself listening to now in 2020?
It's a mix, because like there's current stuff that like is brand new, and there's classic stuff that have new albums. Like, AC/DC's new album. Oh my God. Huge boner for that one. Great CD.
I liked it.
Ozzy Osbourne's new one I really enjoyed. All the when the classic guys put out, Armored Saint put out a new one.
Yes.
And they're good. They're really good. When an old band can come out with something really great, I'm like, oh, thank God. And then there's, new bands that, what I call new metal, guys like Crazy Licks and Heat. I love Heat. H.E.A.T. E period A period T period. The abbreviation. So I love Crazy Licks and Heat. Phoenix Vanderweeden, I think, is probably the newest and most underrated talent, and she is like my rock and roll sister. I love Phoenix's work, and as a person, she's awesome. Jay Hannon Gizmochi. If you like something harder, the new Gizmochi came out, and I honestly, I'm not usually into something that hard edged, but I like Gizmochi, and I like what the new single sounded like. So I know the whole, whatever they put out now is really good, and I highly recommend you look up the new Gizmochi. Really terrific stuff, and and Jay, obviously, he's my friend. But I just want to say it's without bias that I say that it's a really, really good song. And let's see, Trailer Park Vampire, I think, is very cool. Talked about his gimmick on the show. Who else have I listened to new stuff? There's a couple of new bands. I think one, Lips, LIP, I want to say LIPZ. It's either LIPZ or LIPS, but I think it's LIPZ. Like them. There's good new metal. Like I said, if you want a song that you just can't get out of your head, go for Heat with the track On the Run. I love that song, and it'll just stay in your head forever because I sing that. And Trailer Park Vampire, Something Wicked This Way Comes. There's a lot of good stuff out there, not obviously to the level of 80s level when everything was coming out every week, and you got to hunt for it. You really got to hunt for it. The last Queensryche album I thought was very good. I'll put that on there. And like I said, I like to support the old school bands that are still going, guys like Warrant, and Rat's gonna be working, and Judas Priest, and Trans-Siberian Orchestra, of course, which is Savatage.
Yes.
Adrian Vandenberg is working on projects, and George Lynch is always on other people's stuff. Tracy Guns and Michael Sweet are doing that new project, and that's great. What is that? Sun? What's that called? Sun something? Just look up Tracy Guns and Michael Sweet, because Tracy Guns does no wrong in my eyes. He's so good. He's so awesome. Good. He's a great guy too. And Vandenberg, so that's good. Eventually, what's her name? Let's see what I'm having a brain fart here. I know she just came to contract, and she's just starting to record. Let's see. Hold on. I'll tell you in a second. Nicole Couch from Phantom Blue has a solo deal, and that's a ways away. But I know. That's right, Sean Zimmerman. Bang energy, bang. I know Nicole Couch of Phantom Blue has a solo deal now, and she's starting to record, so that'll be a while. But look for that, because that's probably going to be really good. Phantom Blue had some great guitar work, and she's pretty heavy. Stuff like that, just stuff like that. And again, I always say this: support the music, buy the physical product, even if you download it. See if there is a physical copy that you can get. Say you just listen to the new AC/DC on Spotify or on YouTube or whatever. Buy the physical copy, have the physical copy, support these musicians so that they'll do more. Chris Holmes is another one. Chris Holmes of Was, he does some great solo stuff. Look for his stuff. These are the type of things I like to support. Anyone that takes the time to give us product. I don't want to just listen to it free. I don't want to just pay the $1.99 on Apple Music. I want to get the physical copy because they get a piece of that. I want to buy the merch. You know, I said to everyone, they're like, you know, what's a great stocking stuffer? Yeah, what's it? Janice Lala, welcome. They said, you know, what's you know, something great as a stocking stuffer? I said, get Phoenix Vanderweeden's new album.
Yeah,
it's terrific.
yeah.
Get it. It's like, you know, whatever, $12 or something, or 11, whatever it is, shipped. Get that. Anyone who's a guitar fan or an 80s music fan would love Phoenix Vanderweeden's new album, you know, and get that. And what's his name? Wolfgang Van Halen.
I love that.
Terrific.
I love that.
And again, different style of music, but here's a guy carrying on Dad's legacy in a different style of music, and I fully love his stuff. You know, I love it. I love him as a person. I think he's like one of the real nice guys in the world, level-headed and well-adjusted, but he's also talented. The guy can sing. He's singing those tracks, and he's playing the instruments. So I want to support him. You know, check out his stuff, Wolfgang Van Halen.
Well,
you know,
and on the subject of Wolfgang, I defended him on Twitter. He'd been following me on Twitter for a while, and but you know, I just I I can really say is that I don't appreciate seeing somebody get bashed for for nothing.
You know, here's the problem.
Nothing. I said something about that.
Here's the problem. You know, he's raised in the public eye, so he's always going to be, you know, scrutinized.
Yes.
His father, you know, was Eddie, so obviously that's you know, a high bar to always be compared to. And I'll answer that in a minute.
Okay.
And you know, you're growing up in the public eye. Your dad had a relationship with Valerie Bertinelli, who, you know, is beloved, and you know, that also led to Janie, his wife.
Janie's a wonderful person.
Yeah, that led to Janie, his wife, getting a lot of unfair criticism as well.
Yeah,
and then, you know, and then people feel, you know, as fans of Eddie, that they're entitled to, you know, they have that right to speak any way they want, and like they own a piece of him, and we don't. We as fans don't own Eddie Van Halen. We love the gifts he gave us, the innovations, the music, the humor, all the gifts that Eddie left us with. We can never repay, and unfortunately, when you're the son of Eddie Van Halen and you're the wife of Eddie Van Halen, you're going to take a lot of shit from the public. And the public, think of it like the school play yard. The kids can be the cruelest people in the world, you know, to the kid who's different, to the kid who isn't as popular. And that's what the internet can be. And guys like Wolfie, you know, and he's so well adjusted and smart, level head. You know, you just want to have lunch with the guy. You know, just very level-headed and super nice. And again, he's constantly under scrutiny and stuff. And people forget, here's a human being that lost his father, that he was incredibly close with. Eddie was a tremendous father we all wish we had. Forgetting he's Eddie Van Halen, forgetting the music and the money and the whole guitar ability. Forget that. As a father, Eddie Van Halen was a very loving, close, hands-on, kind father, you know, just like, you know, as he was to his friends, but so beamingly proud of his son as his greatest accomplishment, as it should be. And here's a son growing up well-adjusted, feeling loved and close with his father. Now imagine he's lost his father. He's grieving. And here's the rest of the world saying, hey, you better get us Eddie's unplayed music. You better get us this. Eddie owes us this. Eddie doesn't owe you anything. Show some respect to this poor man who lost, and again, a lot of us refer to him as a kid because he's Eddie's kid, but I mean, this is a grown man. I refer to him as the kid too. I mean, it's an endearing thing, but I'm just saying, here's a man lost his father. Have some decency. Give him some space to mourn. Show respect to his family, and do not dare cast judgment on him for mourning his father as a human being should mourn his father. And same with Janie. I said this on the show the other day. She's going through therapy right now, and that's an admirable quality that she publicly can admit she's going through therapy to get through this, because she didn't lose Eddie Van Halen, the musician. She lost Eddie Van Halen, her husband, who she loved. And again, with respect to Valerie as well, who lost someone that she loved truly. Valerie was, Eddie was the love of Valerie's life, but still you have to show respect to Janie, who was his wife. And for both these ladies and Wolfgang, you've got to give them some space. These are humans mourning the loss of a dear family member, and not the Van Halen that we are used to in the guy that gave us these great songs. We see him jumping and playing guitar. Look, we mourn too. I get it. I miss him. I cried for him. I still miss him. I'll always miss him. And it's a tragedy. But I have a heart, and I feel for Janie and for Wolfgang and for Valerie, all in the respect that they lost someone close to them that they knew and loved and was family. And we have to give them that space and that respect. And that's it.
On a personal note, I can tell you that Janie herself has been so kind to me on Twitter, and she's so nice.
Johnny's friends with her. I never met her. I've heard she's a lovely woman.
Great,
but
person.
She's friends of a friend of mine. That's it. I think we have a couple mutual friends, actually, because I know a few people that were friends with the family. So I know people from the Halen camp listen to the Tuesday night broadcast. It's I know Janie's dance partner. Listen, he sometimes is in the audience of the Talking Guitars and 80s Metal live show. So I know the Van Halen camp sometimes hears our Tuesday night shows. So, and again, we've always shown them love and respect. And I ask everyone to do that for them, because, imagine losing your father. Imagine losing someone close to you. Family.
I did lose my father when I was only 13.
Yep. There you go.
That's how come I got involved in all of this, because I didn't appreciate some of the stuff that I was reading, and I when you lose your father, and when you lose somebody who you wish you knew better, who you wish you were closer with, that stuff sticks with you for your entire life. And
I'm sure.
I was a kid at an age when a boy needs a dad.
Oh, yeah.
So that just scorched me inside.
Of course.
When I saw the shit that was being put on Wolfgang, and like I said, because Janie had been so kind to me on Twitter, that's when I stuck up for Wolfgang, and that's when I laid it out. I labeled it out.
I speak about it on the show at various times through the weeks. Again, and again, here's what I ask here's what I ask of the fans. Okay, here's what I ask, because I'm one of you. I'm a big fan of his work.
Absolutely.
But I'm also a fan of him as a person. And here's the thing. Here's what I ask. I ask you to honor Eddie's memory and show his family members the same love that Eddie gave them, and that wants them to have after he's passed.
That's
Eddie's
great.
prize was Wolfgang. Show Wolfgang the love and respect that Eddie would want you to show him, and show Janie the same love and respect that Eddie gave her and wants her to have for her life. And same with Valerie. And that's it. Honor Eddie's wishes. If you're a fan of Eddie, then you would want to do what he would want. And that is what Edward Van Halen would want. It's for you to love and respect his family as he did. And that's all I ask. I ask of you this, please.
You know, she's a sweetheart, and she's kind, and she's gracious, and she's very charming in a very respectful sort of way. And she's just a lovely human being.
I've heard nice things about her. I've never had the pleasure of meeting her. For all I know, we don't live that far from each other. This is someone I may one day run into in a Gelson's. You never know. You never know. But the point is, I'm asking fans to do this for the family. I'm putting that out there on the air and asking fans to do this for the family.
And that's good.
That's it.
Good.
That's it.
Very good.
Yeah. But Wolfie's music, I think it's terrific. I think it's great. I think it's great. And I hope he does very well with it. I'm sure he will. And not just because he's Eddie's son, but because it's good quality music.
Well, we were talking about bands. I've been gravitating.
Actually, hold on. Before we go with that, let me answer, because Edwin asked a question. I want to show him that respect.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Guitar tech.
I don't have a tech. I mean, I'm not going on the road. I'm a terrible player. I play at home. I noodle around songs on my couch at home. With that said, guitars need to be maintained, and it is a large collection to maintain, and I have them in multiple locations. So again, I keep them in cases in climate controlled locations, so that they're not subject to, the moisture and the humidity and whatnot. And in the cases, they don't get full of dust. The strings don't deaden. This is what I tell people that do guitars on the wall a lot. They have these wall hangers of guitars and guitars and guitars. When you keep guitars like that, dust gets in all the electronics and the strings deaden. And it doesn't get that way when they're safely in their cases. Now, make no mistake. I play them, so I do take them out. And when I take them out, I usually keep, 4 on the stands and 1 over my shoulder and, a couple just on the couch cushions, standing there. So I do have some out, but they don't stay out long, maybe, a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, something like that. And then I rotate them in with something else I want to play. But by keeping most of them in cases, I have less wood to oil, less string changes. Because if you're going to actively play all your guitars on the walls, you're going to be going through strings crazy. And I'm not good at changing strings on a Floyd Rose. I'm terrible at it. And it's not fun changing strings on hundreds of guitars. It's not. It's a chore. Now, make no mistake, when I bring them out of their case, obviously is the wood nice? Are the strings, solid? If something needs to be done, I just, grab some F1 oil and a rag, and suddenly the board's, smooth and moist again. But and there's not a lot of maintenance to a maple neck guitar, because you don't have to oil those, but you still have to, strings, and you don't want parts to get moist and rusty, and so you got to keep an eye on it. So every time I rotate something, I look at it and I say, does this need anything? And if the answer is yes, one of two things will happen. Either I'll do it, like an oil of the board or change the strings, or if it's something like, hey, this jack is shorting out, I'm not really, I mean, something like that. If I have the part, okay, I could solder a new jack in. But if something's like the wiring going on in the pickup, I'll usually take it to, I have a buddy who's a luthier, and I'll usually have him just, reset it up and check that or whatever, something like that. Or once in a while, look, I'll get a neck from a different part of the country, a guitar rather from a different part of the country, and the neck due to humidity. Arizona is different than California. Florida is different than California. New York's different from California. Humidity changes the feel of a neck. It'll either twist it or bow it or whatever. So I'll take it down to a buddy and say, hey, can you fix this neck and, reset it up for me? And I'll do that. But usually in the cases adjusted to the climate that I have, there's not as much maintenance, and it's manageable by myself. So no, I do not have a tech, and that's how I maintain guitars.
Have you ever seen the Dean import that came out this year?
I'm not a Dean person. I know they make good guitars, but again, there's an example of a good guitar that I personally don't bond with, I like the dime bag guitars, and I think they're cool as hell. But it's not one that I personally enjoy the feel of playing for myself. So, have I seen them? Sure. I've seen some of them. But I don't reach for them, they're cool.
If you ever get a chance, check out the Dean Scary Cherry
That's
Thoroughbred.
cool. So that's their version of the Les Paul?
Yeah.
That's cool.
This is the Dean Scary Cherry Thoroughbred.
Nice.
Thank you.
Where do they make those?
This one right here was made in Korea.
Okay.
But this I AB'd this to a USA Dean, and this guitar right here actually sounded and played better than a USA Dean, which is really funny. But
see, but that's what I was mentioning earlier, like as an example, the BC Riches, I bond with the USA made ones. Other guys I know bond with the Japanese made ones. Some guys like the Indonesian imports. It's all what feels good for you. And there's no wrong answer. One thing I hate, even though I have a lot of high-end guitars, I'm not a guitar snob. It's the idea of whatever works for the individual player. It doesn't mean a high price tag is the right guitar for any player. It doesn't make the player better. And it's just, it's all a matter of what feels good to you. If to you, $100, Indonesian guitar feels better to your hand, that's the guitar to you. Don't go trying to say, well, I've got to afford a $2,000. You don't. They're all good in the right hands. You just have to see what matches you. And your import's in a perfect example. You don't like the USA version as much as that Korean one, because for your hand, for your playing style, for your feel, your taste, that's the right guitar for you. And that does not mean that, my $2,000 guitar is better than your $1,000 guitar. Yeah. It's what's right for the individual player,
Well, on the subject, absolutely. On the subject of Eddie Van Halen, this is Rosie. Okay,
hi Rosie.
This is named after my niece from China.
Your niece's vagina?
No, my niece from China.
Oh, from China. I'm sorry. And I thought when you said Rosie, and I didn't. Okay, go ahead. From China,
right?
That's good.
And this is a 1960 tribute studio that I just, in the spirit of EVH, in the spirit of Eddie, I just mutilated it. I torched it. I lit it on fire.
That sounds like a tribute to Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. I took a Dremel to it, and I put in let's see, I put in that rose right there with the Dremel.
Cool. That's cool.
These are DiMarzio, Paul Gilbert mini humbuckers.
The way you made it sound, it made it sound like you were about to lift up a turd, but it's a beautiful guitar. Let me see the back.
This is all stripped and sanded.
That's straight mahogany, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Just
And what, you sand down the neck?
yep. I sand down the neck. I reworked the fretboard, the rosewood fretboard.
And where's that one made?
And this one right here is an import.
From?
That I can't tell you.
Is it a Gibson or an Epiphone?
It's a Gibson.
Hmm. Usually, I think the Epiphones are made what, in Indonesia, or?
Yeah, yeah, I believe so.
But that's definitely an import.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, no, actually, the stamp's right there, made in the USA.
Okay, that's why I was wondering, because usually if they put something under the Gibson name, it's usually USA made, and then
Yeah.
the imports they usually do under the Epiphone name.
I don't have very many guitars right now, but
Is that your go-to, or which is your
yeah,
go-to player?
that'd be Cherry. That'd be my Dean.
Okay.
And it's tuned down a half step
Mm-hmm.
to E flat, and Rosie's tuned down a half step to E flat. Now I have another guitar here, Red, but um I'm waiting to get Red fixed probably after Christmas, hopefully, because the headstock broke off.
Do you name all your guitars?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I own some guitars that are named.
Thank
I
you.
don't I don't usually name them myself. Once in a while I do. Like I have a pearl white BC Rich Warlock that I call Whiteout because it's got white pickups and white just everything on it. So I call that Whiteout. It's like white and chrome. And then I own guitars that are named. Like I own a famous Charvel called Red Rum. It was the first blood splatter guitar. The first blood splatter bass was Michael Anthony's, and Charvel came out with a blood splatter guitar, and then they wrote in paint the word Red Rum, and it got sent out, and the guitar store's customers were so horrified by this murder scene guitar that looks like it was written in blood. They sent it back saying it was just, too graphic for a store display. And, that guitar was the first, Red Rum. And there have been copies made of it, but that's the first one. So that one's named Red Rum. I own a BC Rich bitch called the Swimming Pool Bitch. Which was previously named because it looks like a swimming pool. It's all solid quilt maple, the color of a swimming pool, as requested by the customer. I own George Lynch's Skull and Bones mom guitar, the original one that Lynch used, and that was named by Lynch. So I have guitars that are named by people previous to me, and the name just goes with the guitar. It's like, this is that guitar. It's like Eric Clapton had Blackie and George Lynch has Mom, and Eddie had Frankenstein, and some guitars just come to me named. It's very rare that I personally there's one guitar I have, a BC Rich Sparkle Red Virgin called Bloody Mary. I gave her that name. That one's I named. But for the most part, when I have a named guitar, it usually comes from either a rock star named it, or a previous owner named it, or someone in the factory called it a particular name, and that name follows. And it's kind of neat, I like named guitars in that sense,
Well, I I just want to tell everybody thank you for watching, and thank you.
Whoa.
Pardon me.
You gonna make it?
Yeah.
You make it to the end, man?
Yeah. I'm there. I want to thank everybody for watching, and I want to thank everybody for hanging out with Mr. Mancuda and I.
For sure. I really appreciate everyone hanging out with us and watching it. And thank you for having me, of course.
Definitely. And there's a few things I'll mention, but I'll wait till it's off of camera.
Sure.
I just want to say thank you, everybody, and for everybody wanting to know what's going to be new from the Dreamer. December 16th, Wednesday, December 16th, will be the triumphant return to Hanging with the Dreamer. Cutter Savage will be back again for a third epic time.
Cool.
And we will be playing audio files from his new debut EP that I'm supporting.
Nice.
And watch out on all social media platforms. Watch out for the postings, for the links and everything. And I just want to throw it out there also, if there's any bands or any artists that are looking for a platform to perform, then I want to extend an invitation for for you to come on my show, Hang with the Dreamer, because part of 2021 and my new show format is I would like to start showcasing live performances live on the broadcast.
Cool.
So that's why I'm throwing it out there. Everybody check out John Mancuda's links down the description box below.
Yeah, and check out every Tuesday night on YouTube on Johnny Bean TV channel. The show is Talking Guitars and 80s Metal live.
Absolutely.
So check that out every week. It's a lot of fun. It's basically a lot of comedy. It's myself and Neanderthal and Johnny hanging out and talking about 80s metal bands and guitars and pop culture and just a lot of comedy. So if you need a little feel good laugh every once in a while with a little dirty comedy, just tune in. And they're all over YouTube. You can check out some of the reruns. This week I showed off one of George Lynch's old guitars. Every week I bring a guitar on for show and tell out of my collection. This week was one of George Lynch's personal old guitars, an old Charvel he used. And I show something every week. And also, let me put it out there: if anyone is female and single and lonely, please contact me. I'm so fucking lonely. Holy shit, this sucks. I've been masturbating so much. I've almost ripped my dick off. Please reach out to me on Facebook. Please.
And on that,
Excuse me. Oh, speaking of masturbating, remember Bang Energy Drink.
Bang
Energy Drink, delicious.
Check
Bang,
it
and
out.
of course Swiss Picks. There you
And
go.
Swiss Picks.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching Hanging with Dreamer, hanging out with Jonathan Mancuda and myself.
And everyone be safe and have a safe holiday season. Let's all get through this together. Be nice to each other. I love every one of you, really.
And in the words of Mel Brooks, and now a word from our sponsor.